Hello friends, today we will be continuing the discussion on autonomic nervous system, and in the last video we have started the topic on catecholamines, and we said that the systolic blood pressure is determined by the cardiac output by the receptor action, that is beta 1 receptors, which are present all over the ventricular, or not ventricular, all over the myocardium, richly having the beta 1 on its surface. And diastolic blood pressure depends on the blood vessel character. Okay, now we go towards the if I increase, for example, this is my chamber, and from the chamber I have connection with the blood vessels. If I increase the blood vessel, if I vasoconstrict them, what will happen? I will be increasing what? The diastolic blood pressure. So remember, if I increase the total peripheral resistance, that is the total peripheral resistance, what I will be getting an increase in the DBP. What is DBP? Diastolic blood pressure. Okay, so increased diastolic blood pressure, what it will do, since you have everywhere you have the network baroreceptor, what will happen? Your baroreceptors will get stimulated, pressure receptors will get stimulated, carotid sinus, carotid bodies. Okay, some responsible for chemical reception, some responsible for pressure reception. Now diastolic blood pressure, when it's increased, it will lead to the release of acetylcholine. Okay, reflex tachycardia, reflex action. I won't say reflex tachycardia, I will say reflex action will happen. What is happening? Contrary to that, something will happen. The body tries to save. That means my heart rate should decrease. How to decrease the heart rate? Vagus stimulation. So you are increasing the M2 action. M2 action means you have vagus action. So you have AV node, SA node. So you are doing the vagus action. You are telling it to decrease. Okay, repolarizing it. Okay, so M2 receptors. Now you are decreasing the diastolic. If you decrease the diastolic BP, how will you decrease the diastolic BP? For example, this is your heart and this is connected to your vessels. Now what I do is, at some point I increase the lumen of the vessel, that is I do vasodilatation. Vasodilatation will lead to decrease in the pressure. I hope you remember this from your physiology. So decreases the pressure, that is diastolic blood pressure decreases. This again will be sensed by the baroreceptor mechanism that I am having a decreased blood pressure, and what will do? It will tell the central nervous system to discharge an adequate central sympathetic outflow. And then that sympathetic outflow will act on the heart and increase the heart rate. So can I say it is the culprit? This blood vessel is actually showing the way to your heart, how it has to work. I think I have understood this from my physiology, from my pharmacology, that it is basically the blood vessel who is showing him the way, who is showing the way to the heart, how you have to work. I hope you understand what I mean. Okay. Now, what happens if I give noradrenaline? If I give noradrenaline, what happens to the heart rate? If I give noradrenaline, what happens to the heart rate? Noradrenaline decreases the heart rate. Noradrenaline decreases the heart rate. But if I atropinize the heart, I put atropine on the heart, what will happen? Heart rate will increase. Why? There is no reflex action. You have given the blocker already, M2 blocker, isn't it? Guys, isn't it? Antimuscarinic. So you will be not having the increase in the, you will be having an increase in the heart rate. So if you want to increase, this is the wrong thing what you study. You start thinking adrenaline will work on this and will do like this. No. What will the total effect? Heart rate decreases. But if you give a dose of atropine, if you atropinize the patient first and then give him noradrenaline, you will definitely have a increase in the heart rate, tachycardia. Okay. Is it clear? Now I tell you again about the norepinephrine. This norepinephrine is having beta 1 alpha 1 receptor activity. Now, if they have beta 1 alpha 1 receptor activity, it will be increasing the contractility and it will be increasing the heart rate. It will be also increasing the vasoconstriction. Okay. Now, alpha mediated vasoconstriction is greater than the beta effect, is greater than the inotropic effect, is greater than the chronotropic effect. Are we clear? So this is the pharmacology of norepinephrine, that it is having the activity pretty much on everything, but the alpha effects are greater than the beta effects. So norepinephrine, alpha effects are greater than the beta effects. That means beta effects were what? It was inotropic action. It was chronotropic action, heart rate related effect. So chronotropic action, this will be greater than this. You will be having more of a. So that means I will be finally having a reflex bradycardia, because the body is trying to save you. It came to know that you are having what? That's what happens. That's what happens once you have a sympathetic surge. What will happen? Your body will be stimulated by the receptor mechanism, by baroreceptors. These baroreceptors will then, in short, I'm not going to physiology, the 9, 10th now and everything. I'm just telling you in short here, okay? Because then I land into something else. So reflex bradycardia will be happening because of the norepinephrine effects on this, okay? And that's why we are using this action. We are using this in patients of shock. So we are using this in patients of shock. But once you are giving this, what is shock? Shock is a state of intense hypoperfusion. The blood tissues, sorry, again I will say, the peripheral tissues, they are not receiving the blood supply. That means they are landing into shock. So to treat those patients, what we give, we first give those patients in case of shock. Okay, are we understanding or not? So what we do for these patients is, in case of shock, what I do, I first give a fluid replacement therapy. First I give a fluid replacement. Okay. Then I give what? Norepinephrine, so that I can treat the shock. But what is the drug of choice for anaphylactic shock? What is the drug of choice for anaphylactic shock? Epinephrine, adrenaline. So remember, adrenaline is the drug of choice for anaphylactic shock. Okay, friends. So anaphylactic shock, how we will be giving it? You have to give it in diluted form. You have to dilute it. So how we'll be doing is, adrenaline is given as 0.5 ml of. This should be always remembered. This is what you will be doing in the emergency. 0.5 ml of 1:1000 dilution. 1:1000 dilution. Okay, 1:1000 solution, you can say. So 0.5 ml of, you have to dilute it, 1 parts in 1000. Okay, so that equally becomes how much? 0.5 mg, isn't it? That becomes 5.5 mg. You will be giving it IM, or you can give it SC, not IV. IM or SC. IM, SC. IM, SC. Are we clear? Now, what is the IM? They will ask you, IM at which site? IM, it is lateral thigh. Okay, mostly lateral thigh. Lateral thigh. This is preferred. Why this preferred? This is the answer from this answer comes from the general pharmacology, because the absorption, there's a difference between the absorption. Okay, so we definitely prefer the lateral thigh. Okay, fine. So in SC site, I don't believe in absorption, so I go to lateral thigh. Okay, so why can we give basically IV? Can we give IV? Yes, IV can be given, but it is given for what? It is given for the patients with cardiac arrest. If you have a patient with cardiac arrest, okay, his heart is not working, no, he is in arrest. So what will you do? We give intracardiac. We used to give intracardiac. Now I will be telling you that in the medicine part, intracardiac we don't but intracardiac we used to give, or IV route we used to give to treat the cardiac arrest. Okay, and we are also using it apart from the heart. We are using it in in asthma, and anaphylactic shock is a drug of choice. Um, you can say so. Those are the other uses of this. Okay, those are the other uses of this. But here, I am telling you, uh, adrenaline, where it can be used IV. The point is to make the IV clear. IV we give it in cardiac arrest. If you are not able to find the IV line, now you are not able to, you are having problem in the IV. So adrenaline you have to give, for example, right? Adrenaline you are giving IV to which patient? Cardiac arrest. Cardiac arrest patient. Now I am telling you, I am not able to find. So what will go next? You will go for intraosseous. You will inject it in the bone. Okay, iliac spine, for example. So if you are IV, then you will go for what? Intraosseous. If still not can't give intraosseous, you can give it endotracheal. Endotracheal administration. So you can give it endotracheally. Endotracheally. Okay. Now there will be three different questions which they will be asking. He will ask, what is the drug of choice for anaphylactic shock? Adrenaline. What is the drug of choice for cardiogenic shock plus oliguric renal failure? Because you did shock, your heart is not able to pump. Your heart is not able to pump. What will happen? You are decreasing the blood flow. You are decreasing the blood flow to the periphery. That means your lung, your kidney will also be having a less perfusion. That means the RAS system should get activated. The kidney would think that the blood pressure is decreasing. The kidney would think the blood pressure is decreasing, and it will start the RAS system also. The RAS system also. So what you do is, in case of, because do we know about dopamine? Do we know about dopaminergic receptor? I want to tell you first about that receptor. We have D1 receptor and D2 receptor. We have D1 receptor and D2 receptor. D1 is SI, sub-inspector. This is sub-inspector. D1 is S, D2 is I, sub-inspector. So what is the function of D1? D1 actually is present in your, listen to my word, smooth muscle vasculature, the vasculature of the smooth muscle. Which place? Renal and in your striatum pathway in your brain. So two places you have D1 receptor. One, remember at least two places: renal vascular smooth muscle. Okay, let me write for you. Renal vascular smooth muscle. And D2 is present where? Another thing I should write, D1 is present in striatum pathway. Striatum. Okay. So which pathway? Who can tell me? Direct pathway. In the direct pathway. So it is used in the direct pathway of, now we have two pathways of striatum. We have direct pathway and indirect pathway. So direct pathway of striatum, we are using what? The direct pathway of striatum is the D1 receptors. And also we have in the renal. So we have to remember kidney and brain. We have to remember kidney and brain. Okay. D2 receptors, you have these receptors. They are actually acting. D2, we call it modulators. We call them as modulators. Modulators means they will modulate your neurotransmitter release. So that means they should be mostly present in your brain. So D2 receptors modulate your transmitter release. And which pathway are they activating? No, they are inhibiting the indirect pathway of striatum pathway. So they inhibit the inhibitory pathway. Sorry, they inhibit the indirect pathway. They inhibit the indirect pathway. I hope you have read from the neurophysiology. Indirect pathway of striatum. Fine. So we have direct pathway where we are stimulating it by D1 receptors, and we have indirect pathway which we are inhibiting by the D2 receptors. D2 receptors inhibiting indirect pathway. Direct pathway stimulating D1. D1 direct stimulation. D2 indirect inhibition. D2 indirect inhibition is how I learn. Okay. Yeah. So now D1 receptors. D1, how will you giving? So who will be acting on this? Dopamine. Dopamine, we said it's a catecholamine. It's an endogenous catecholamine and endogenous catecholamine. Norepinephrine, adrenaline, noradrenaline, dopamine. Now dopamine will be acting on, what is the dopamine used for? Dopamine is drug of choice. It is drug of choice for cardiogenic shock. Cardiogenic means the reason is the heart. Cardiogenic shock. Plus with that, you will be having an oliguric renal failure. Your renal system is not able to excrete, it's not functioning well. So you are going into renal failure. So oliguric renal failure. So in oliguric renal failure, you give it. Now listen to me. This dopamine is having a beautiful action. Sir, what is the beautiful action? The beautiful action is that it is dose dependent working. It works according to the dose you give. Now, listen to me. It is having dabba activity. What? Dabba. What is dabba? What is dabba? D1, beta 1, alpha 1. D1, beta 1, alpha 1. Dabba activity. So why it's not writing? So with D1, beta 1, alpha 1 is the activity of dopamine. Okay. Write like the way I'm writing. Now, if you want it to have a D1 activity, what you will do, you will give a dosage of 1 to 2 microgram per kg per minute. This is the D1 action. If you give the dosage of D1, if you give the dosage of dopamine 1 to 2 microgram per kg per minute, you will be giving it for the D1 receptors. That means you will be thinking about renal circulation. You will be thinking about, so what will happen once you give this dose, what will happen? Vasodilatation of renal vasculature. So renal vascular vasodilatation. Renal vascular vasodilation. Okay. So renal vascular vasodilation will happen. Now, if you take its moderate, so let me write vasodilation of renal, vasodilation of renal. Now, if you give its beta 1, if you give its dosage approximately around 2 to 10 microgram per kg per minute, you will be having, this is the moderate dosage. Okay, this is the moderate dosage. So this moderate dosage will be helping you in increasing the inotropic action of the heart. You will be increasing the inotropic action of the heart. So you will be giving, it would be behaving as an inotropic agent. That means it will be behaving as an inotropic agent. It will be behaving as an inotropic agent. If you give alpha, if you give now greater than 10 micrograms, if you give a high dose, so high dose. So high doses of dopamine, that is how much guys? Greater than 10 microgram per kg per minute. What will happen? So if you give it greater than 10 microgram per kg per minute, the highest dose of, you will be causing alpha 1 stimulation. Alpha 1 stimulation. So alpha 1 stimulation will increase, and you know it causes. Now I want to make it like this. So you did vasodilation of renal. How? D1 mediated. So what will happen? You will increase the renal perfusion. You will increase the renal blood supply, isn't it? That means you will be increasing the GFR also. Okay. Talking about inotropic action, that means you will be getting what? Cardiac contractility. So beautiful pump. Pumping action is getting beautiful. What about high dose of greater than this? It causes what? It causes vasoconstriction. Now, what is the difference between the other things? See, if you talk about the other inotropic agents, for example, the noradrenaline or norepinephrine, it caused renal vasoconstriction. So will you give norepinephrine? Still you are thinking about the heart, but you are not thinking about the kidney. So will you worsen that condition? Will you make it graver and graver? I am giving you an example. I have a patient with cardiogenic shock plus renal or oliguric failure. Will you give that patient more adrenaline or dopamine? See how beautifully you understood. You will give dopamine. Why, sir? Because dopamine at a dosage of 1 to 2 microgram per minute, I will be actually causing the perfusion. I will be increasing the renal perfusion. I will be increasing the GFR, isn't it? So this is the way you have to think. You can't give noradrenaline to that patient. Okay, so it's not only, remember another thing, some things will be coming up. If they ask you the question like this, which drug will be helpful out of these in preventing the ischemic kidney disease? Ischemic kidney disease. So what will be your answer? Dopamine. Because it is increasing the blood flow, definitely you will be decreasing the chances of. But while you are giving these things, there is now an adverse effect. The adverse effect is that they may lead to premature ventricular beats. So what is the adverse effect you can have with the uses of these things? So the adverse effect can be, you can have a premature ventricular beats or premature ventricular tachycardia, or you can also have sinus tachycardia. Sinus tachycardia, this is the adverse effect. Another adverse effect which I remember is angina pectoris. So you can have angina pectoris. I think I'm going towards the sky, isn't it? Angina pectoris. So let me write in like this. Okay. So angina pectoris. Is it clear, friends? So now I tell you what is, yeah. Okay. So now I am telling you, yeah, it's about dopamine. Okay. It's about dopamine, what I told. Okay. Now I am telling you what is difference between dobutamine and dopamine. What is difference between dobutamine and dopamine? Bro, both are being used in shock. Both are being used in heart failure. What is the difference between dobutamine and dopamine? The difference between dobutamine and dopamine is that dobutamine is having slightly, beta 1 is more than beta 2. Beta 1 is more than beta 2. Are we clear? So dobutamine is having beta 1 greater than beta 2. But I hope you remember, dopamine is having D1 is equal to D2 greater than beta 1 greater than alpha 1. Isn't it? Isn't it, guys? Both you are using for shock itself. You are using it for shock. You are using it for heart failure, cardiac failure. But what is the difference? I should think it's having a beta 1 greater than beta 2 activity, while as dopamine is having a D1 is equal to D2 greater than beta 1 alpha 1. Out of these two, who will be having a less effect on heart rate, but cardiac output will be more? Dobutamine. So dobutamine is having more cardiac output and less effect on the heart rate. So heart rate are less effect, but cardiac output are high effect. Okay. Now there is another you may have come across, that is dopexamine. I hope you know this. Dopexamine is basically BD. What? BD. What is BD, guys? Don't think something else. It is beta 2 D1. Okay. It has a beta 2 D1 activity. But with that, it is also helping us. What? It is not letting the noradrenaline to get reuptaken. Now tell me one thing. If I have a junction like this, and this is my noradrenaline, if you increase its reuptake, what will happen? It will disappear from the junction. That means the action will decrease. So if I do something so that I keep it here, I stop the transporter, I stop the enzymes which are breaking it, will I increase its duration of action? Yes, at that point. So that means this is the same thing what dopexamine is doing. It is making the noradrenaline available at that point so that it can be acted upon. Another thing, in the Harrison, it was written in the, I think about the hypertensive emergency. What is hypertensive emergency? What is difference between hypertensive emergency and hypertensive urgency? What is hypertensive urgency? Okay, let me explain for you. Hypertensive urgency, hypertensive emergency. Hypertensive urgency means you are having a hypertensive episode but you are not having an end organ damage. You are not having an end organ damage. End organ damage will be seen in hypertensive emergency. So hypertensive emergency, you will be having a end organ damage. End organ damage present. But here end organ damage will not be there. This is a simple I can give you at this level. Okay, you will be reading more about this in medicine. So hypertensive emergency will be. So phenol-dopam is basically useful. So if they ask you what is helpful for phenol-dopam is basically a D1 agonist. D1 agonist. So it will be useful to me in hypertensive emergency. Hypertensive emergency. Are we clear? Hypertensive emergency. Okay. You may have come across those isoproterenol and isoproterenol also. So what is isoproterenol? Isoproterenol, why? Yeah. Isoproterenol, yes. Isoproterenol is same, but it is having equal action. Beta 1 is equal to beta 2. Beta 1 is equal to beta 2. Okay. So it is used. Where do I use isoproterenol? I use in AV block, atrioventricular block, and also in bradycardia. So I use isoproterenol in AV block, atrioventricular block, and bradycardia. Okay. Where so to have the something about a small review about the dobutamine. See about these directly acting adrenergics. See, dobutamine you were using in shock heart failure. Dopamine you are using again in the short heart failure. But what is the difference between the two? Dobutamine you have a beta 1 more than beta 2. Dobutamine has beta 1 greater than beta 2. Dopamine is having dopamine 1, D1 is equal to D2 greater than beta 1 greater than alpha 1. Okay. Now epinephrine. Epinephrine, what was it doing? It was having alpha 1, alpha 2, beta 1, beta 2. That's why epinephrine is known as dash. What is epinephrine known as dash? If it has alpha 1, alpha 2, beta 1, beta 2 action, what do we call this? Guys, don't sleep. Answer me. If it is having alpha 1, alpha 2, beta 1, beta 2 action, what do we call it? So you have forgot the general pharmacology, isn't it? What is the answer here, please? So we call it, you have forgotten, you don't study, general agonist. This is a general agonist. Okay. Epinephrine is working as, it is working, we are using it where? Anaphylaxis. We are using it in hypotension. We are using it in cardiac arrest. Whatever we learned, I taught you. We are using it in ventricular fibrillation. Okay. Or if you are doing a surgery and if you want to reduce the bleeding in the surgery, I tell you about the surgery. If you want to reduce the bleeding, what do? You apply epinephrine. So epinephrine reduces the bleeding during surgery. Now what you want to do is, you have given an anesthetic and you want its action to remain for a long time. You want it long lasting action. What you will give? You will give epinephrine. So epinephrine is used to prolong the action of local anesthetic. Okay, local anesthetic action you will prolong. So what is the use of norepinephrine? Hypotension, shock, because it is having what? Alpha 1, alpha 2, beta 1 activity. So it can increase my blood pressure and give me the requisite blood pressure. Okay. Isoproterenol, beta 1, beta 2 activity used in AV block and bradycardia. Okay. Now I want to talk about some point about non-catecholamine. Or I think we should continue it in the next chapter. Okay. We should continue it in the next chapter. Okay. So thank you very much. I hope you have enjoyed it. Please keep revising. It's not difficult if you understand it in a systemic way. Okay. So take care. See you all. Bye bye.